What's going on, y'all? Thank you for checking in with Callie. Please like, subscribe if you haven't already. So, let's go ahead and jump right in. So, my boy Kawhi, I want to say this much. This can be a troubling situation for Kawhi because it's trouble. It's trouble for Kawhi because not only it affects him, this move right here, if it really is, true, and there's facts behind it, this can really affect the NBA as a whole, maybe even sports in general. Because when you think about Kawhi Leonard, the first thing that comes to your mind is load management, right? So now we're hearing that there's been $28 million funded to him before he even got to the Clippers in regards to not even playing games. He'll still get his $28 million for a no-show or what they're claiming is a no-show job. So basically, he can not play games or was not really ordered to play games and still get paid sitting at home, working from home, basically. And honestly, if you ask me, he had the best job in the world because he can basically work from home, sit at home as an NBA player and still get paid max big dollars and not do any work. Now, I will say it looks bad on Kawhi because a lot of people have always used the load management thing against him because of who he is and what he represents as the San Antonio Spurs years ago, of how they basically load manage their players, even though most of them on the team or the other former superstar players on that team were older, like Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Ginobili, people like that. But Kawhi took advantage of that as well because he was a part of the organization. They let him do it because he became a superstar for the organization. And over time, he's took that notion with him to other teams that he's went to and utilize it to his advantage because he's won championships and he is a superstar and he is one of the top players when he's on the floor. Even Stephen A. Smith said that, and I mean, he had a lot to say about Kawhi. Not really nothing too bad this time. He did say he was the worst superstar because of these things, and now this notion about Kawhi is going to come out even more so once again as it did before, but it might actually backfire on him because in my mind, I know he's injured. I feel like he's injured when he doesn't play. But these type things coming out now about him being paid for no show to his job, which his career, which is basketball, and you're still getting paid max dollars, that's not going to sit well with a lot of fans. He already is in jeopardy with a lot of fans because of the load management in general. This right here might just be the icing on the cake. And now you got to look at Steve Ballmer, who basically allowed this, who basically signed off on it. And on top of that, how did he create loopholes to get around it? Even though they came up with some tree business or something like that to where a funding tree business or something like that where Kawhi get paid through to make it look legit, it still was some loops and boundaries that Mr. Ballmer went through to get this done. Now, was this behind Adam Silver's back, or was this something that he somewhat mentioned to Adam Silver just in a different way, shape, form, or fashion for Adam Silver not to really catch on? Now, I will say Adam Silver, since he's been the commissioner of the NBA, he's been really, really vocal. He's been really, really forward with a lot of things, and he's been definitely the one to take action. We saw that with Ja Morant's situation, even though Kawhi Leonard's situation isn't close to that when it comes to guns and having all the type of bad representation around him. But at the same time, this could really hurt the sport because if this gets out and this is actually true that the Clippers allowed this to happen, well, how did they get through with all these loopholes without upper management, people like that, not knowing or not getting back to them? And why did it take this long for it to get out when Kawhi got signed to the Clippers like 6 seasons ago and had all these perks, which we have to understand superstars get a lot of perks. Superstars get a lot of everything because of who they are. But Kawhi's probably got the most perks more than any other superstar in the league ever, maybe even sports history, because the fact of him getting paid top dollar, being a superstar, his responsibility is a lot higher more than a regular role player who's getting paid a great lump sum, but not as much as somebody like Kawhi, who bears the responsibility that Kawhi bears because he's such a great player. And I think what really hurts Kawhi in this situation, Uncle Dennis and the team that's around him, is really all about getting the money. They're not really about pushing him to have the mentality to play all 82 games and, factor out your career and push your career that way. It's never been that notion ever since he's been drafted to San Antonio. And for some reason, I can say I understand because he comes from that era, but at the same time, it always is going to come off like you don't want to do your very best to win, even though he's won championships, which is the condescending thing with Kawhi. You could say he hasn't put all his effort into basketball, but you can also make a case that he has, because when he's on the court, he's a top 5 player in the league. I don't give a damn what player you talk about, which one you like, how important you think they are to the league. A lot of people tell me Jokic is the best player in the league. He may be the best player in the league, but it doesn't negate that, to me, Kawhi is a top 5 player, in my opinion. I mean, and that goes amongst other players too, because Kawhi is just so great, and he's won multiple championships, and he's done a lot in such less time of not playing. But this comes off like he doesn't really want to play, and I really feel like Kawhi does want to play. I just feel like this right here could just be a media trying to throw a shot back at Kawhi or something like that, because this came out so many years later, and it's going to be put on as in it started before, he even got to the Clippers from Toronto. And, it's one of those things where it's maybe that's the reason why he left Toronto, because maybe they had more of an idea of him playing more games and being more accountable as a superstar. Maybe he didn't want that. So it's a lot of questions that you can, piece together because of this situation, and it makes it look so bad on his behalf because of who he is and how great he is. You expect the greater the player, the more responsibility they want to have, and the more they want to play to, please the fans and do what's best for the company, which is the association, the NBA. And rightfully so, that is true. But in Kawhi's case, he looks out for himself more than anything. And I have to say, there's a lot of players who probably would do the same thing. There's a lot of players who would disagree and not do the same thing. But I'm not sure, even though the media is going to make it out for Kawhi to be the bad guy, because of who Kawhi is and his reputation among sports and around the league, and the phrase load management is him. You know what I mean? A lot of people will not negate that phrase when Kawhi Leonard is around, or when they hear Kawhi Leonard's name, they're not going to, reference that load management to nobody else except to his name first, because of, who he is and what his whole career has been based on. And I feel like this right here can really hurt the Clippers as an organization, because if there's any suspensions or anything like that that comes out of this, it's really going to hurt, chemistry, everything with the team trying to go into the season and be 100% focused, not have any lapses or anything like that. Thank goodness Kawhi was healthy in the latter part of last season, healthy going into the playoffs. He looked good. He looked springy, bouncy, ready to go. His handle was pretty tight. The jumper is always there. So, I mean, good thing for Clippers fans, or just Kawhi Leonard fans in general, he did look pretty healthy at the end of last season. So hopefully going into this season, he can mimic that and continue the same success. But with this right here, if it ever really, hits the surface the way it somewhat is now, because all the media people are talking about it. And like I said, this is something that can affect sports in general, because other players might come off with the notion of, hey, I'm a superstar. Maybe I should get that preferential treatment that Kawhi gets, as long as I find a way to be at least productive every time I'm out there on the field or the floor or the tennis court, whatever sport you play. And if I win, I definitely could take advantage of all the perks the way Kawhi Leonard's doing. So they might look at this as a situation that blows beyond the NBA, because it's going to make other players think they can get away with the same thing, just like Kawhi did. And the fact that they came up with some funding company just to give him that $28 million for no show, whether he shows up to the job or not, as a perk, because they wanted him so bad on the Clippers at that time and mortgaged their whole future for Kawhi. It looks 10 times as worse for Kawhi and his camp, rather than even more so than it does for the Clippers organization. They were just trying to do what they can to get a superstar, lure a superstar to their team so they have a better chance to win. And the superstar took the bait. So that's how the organization's probably going to play it. If everything tries to, fall back on them, they're probably going to try to throw Kawhi under the bus, which is, rightfully so. Organizations are going to do that, especially for what we seen years ago with the Spurs. They threw Kawhi under the bus when he was, all against the fact of, not playing because he wanted a second opinion on his thigh injury at the time. So it's like, teams are going to protect themselves, so the player has to protect himself. And I get that. It's just that this looks so bad for Kawhi, because I really wanted Kawhi to go into a season, with his nose clean, and just go out there and ball out, hoop, and play as much as he can and stay healthy as much as he can, and see how well this team can gel going forward. And I still think they can do that, but it's going to be another clash cloud over the Clippers because now you got people thinking that Kawhi's cheating the game and all these things, which they thought before, but now this gives them more ammunition to think so and to basically solidify that's what he's doing. And me personally, I don't want to say that he's cheating the game. I feel like Kawhi has been injured the times he didn't play. I mean, of course, every player, a lot of players out there may take a day off here and there, and maybe not load manage, but take a night off here and there. You see other superstars do it too. So it's not all him, but I mean, it's going to be put on him because a lot of people think he is the reason why load management is still famous, in which maybe so, they might be right. But at the same time, I don't think it's all Kawhi's fault. If a company is willing to pay you what you're worth and they give you the money, they give you the perks, you're going to take it. As you as a person, you as a individual, a fan or whoever, you're given that opportunity, you would take it. If I'm given that opportunity, maybe I would take it. I don't know. But at the same time, I do want to, if I was a superstar basketball player, I do want to give back to the fans and give my all and don't cheat the game as well. So, I mean, it could be looked at from two different sides. And basically, you can say my brain is split in half when it comes to that because I can see both sides. I'm very optimistic when it comes to this type stuff. So I can see both sides. So, I mean, it's a bad look on Kawhi, but at the same time, I feel like if he comes out and plays the season, hopefully no suspensions or anything like that, maybe a little bit of a fine, who knows? But if he comes out and plays the season and stay healthy and somehow, which a lot of people don't think can happen, if the Clippers made it to a finals, a lot of this will be negated. And if they win it, you'll never hear it ever again. So hopefully, or, maybe you'll hear it again, but it won't be as predicated because Kawhi, shut up all his doubters and haters by winning another championship in the midst of all the negativity that's surrounding him and this team. So hopefully everything works out in his favor that way. I really hope it does. Hope everything works out for the Clippers where they go into the season and try to be, clean, what I'm saying, as possible and just try to work the season and do the best and try to win a championship.